Myself, his wife, and another sister, we started an organization called Phoenix Rising Baltimore. And it's a peer-to-peer support group for survivors of sexual abuse. Myself, I'm a survivor. All of us are survivors. And we feel like enough is enough. We're holding on to the shame so someone else can continue their perversion. It's rampant. It's rampant in all of our communities. It's no longer a taboo issue because we will scream it from a mountaintop. I was molested not by strangers, but by people who were supposed to love, respect, and protect me. And murdered the little girl that I was, transformed me into somebody else. And a few years ago, I was talking to a sister, and you can never tell someone's story just based off of looking at them. You know, all of us have stories to tell. All of our lives are books ready to be wrote so that someone can read them. And we were talking, and she was telling me, I don't even know how we got on the discussion of sexual abuse, but we did. And she was telling me her story of how her abuse started at the age of 7. And it compelled me to share my story of how my abuse started at the age of 11. And we were like, we need to do something. Because if I'm secretly holding my story, and you're secretly holding your story, I wonder how many other people are secretly holding their stories. And we wonder why the communities are in such a condition. Like, we're all wounded people walking with invisible bloody footprints, trying to overcome our burdens of yesterday's shame. So I'm no longer ashamed to share my story. I'm not. Like, I remember when I broke the silence to my grandmother, and my grandmother was one of those ones who believed that prayer changed everything. And I remember when I went to her with my first occurrence, and she said, come on, we're going to pray about it. That was at 11. At 13, when it happened again, and she said, well, come on, we're going to pray about it, and the whole forgiveness, 70 times 7, like, it put a little damper on the whole power of prayer. Because I'm like, okay, I've prayed about it. The Negroes are still doing it. Obviously, there's a disconnect between my praying and this effect. So we're going to do something about it. It totally altered who I was. I didn't want to be pretty. I wore extremely baggy clothes because I thought that if I did that, no one would be able to see that my body had developed. It wasn't my fault that my body had developed. There was nothing I could do about it. But it didn't stop the perversion. Once I started having children, I realized I did not want that to affect my children. So I was screaming from a mountaintop. Because unlike my grandmother of the power of prayer, I believe that faith without works is dead. And if somebody touched my children, they would be dead and I would be in jail and y'all would be sending me commissary packets because, no, the buck would stop at my babies. So I'm a part of Silence the Violence because I realize that all of our lights, if we give ourselves an opportunity to be transparent, we'll give someone else the opportunity to share their stories. Because we're not little lonely people on one teeny island isolated. We share pains with somebody else, and if we stop being so arrogant enough to share our pain, we'll realize that we share the same daggone pain. And if we share our pain together, then we can reposition ourselves from victims into victors, because that's where the difference lies. So Silencing the Violence, I'm a part of this because I know that collectively we